Hello and welcome to the Right Fight Podcast, a conversation about living a loving life. This is episode 2. I'm Reg Lloyd, and we're having a conversation with Kenny Vaughn. Kenny, you are so passionate about love. Why are you so relentless and passionate about sharing what you've discovered?
Well, first of all, when you say passionate about love, that's I don't even know what to say because of what it sounds like, right? Passion and what I always thought love was. So like I don't even like the word love in one sense that it's so misdefined. You know, I've tried to figure out what other word could I use because everyone already has a preconceived idea of what love is, and it's romance and it's roses and I don't even
Feelings.
Yeah, feelings and all that stuff, and just ask my wife how romantic I am. You know what I mean? It's like I don't even know what that is. I got to learn, but in the real sense of what love is, why does it matter to me? Because coming to understand what love really is, like completely, totally, radically changed my life in ways you could never imagine. It's just like, you know, if everybody around you was starving and you were starving with them, and then you found a source of food that was endless, and people around you are still starving, and you're not wanting to share it, something's wrong, right? And so it's so amazingly changed everything I see, like everything, not just some things, everything, every interaction I have, everything I do, everything I understand, everything I witness, the way I perceive everything. So for the better. Like I mentioned in the previous podcast, forever I was fighting the wrong fight and it was destroying me. Then I found the gold mine, you know, like the thing that changes everything. And so I want to share it with people. But the hardest part is that it's so counterintuitive. It's like, you know.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, just most of the stuff I'm saying 15, 20 years ago, you know, I wouldn't have believed it. And so I'm trying to figure out a way. The hardest part is trying to say this in a way that someone, not that they don't want to hear it. Like I think most people they're desperately seeking the truth. They're trying to find their way. They're trying everything they can think of, anything that may make some sort of sense. And a lot of things that make sense are absolute foolishness. You know, they seem sensible, but they're really not if you dig a little deeper to what's really going on. And so by counterintuitive, I just mean what love really is almost the exact opposite of what we think it is. And so it's like you got everybody going this one direction. And because everybody's going that way, it feels right. And it's leading to suffering, like massive suffering. And I've been through all of that. And so I would say I was the king of self-love and the king of pride until it burned down my own kingdom. And so when you see those people head that way and you know the truth, you're dying to share it, you know. But just as an example, I was trying to think, what illustrates what I'm trying to say. Back in, I don't remember, early 2000s, I think, 04 was Hurricane Rita. And anyway, our whole area, though we're in a hurricane-prone area, we'd never seen an evacuation like this. On top of that, Houston evacuated through our channels. And so everyone is being guided to the evacuation route. And we wait kind of late in the game to go. So now it's what is normally a 4-hour drive to Dallas is a 30-hour drive. But there's no one knows any other way. The storm's blocking one way and the highways are shut down another way. So everybody's being forced onto this one evacuation route. So it's like what's normally a 20-minute drive to Lumberton or Silsbee is now 3 hours. And so we evacuate with a friend of mine that happens to know some side roads to get get past that first leg. And I kind of want to follow him, but I don't really, you know, because I'm like, well, everybody else is over here. If that over there was working, they'd already be using it. Or we're going to go over there and find that road is just as backed up as this one. It's a smaller road and it's going to take longer. It's not going to go quicker, right? Well, it was only a little short stint. And he went, so I didn't want to lose him. So I followed him. We took some side roads that were like 2 miles parallel over, but running parallel to the evacuation route. And what was taking 2 hours took us, 20, 30 minutes. I'm telling you, I could not believe those roads were empty. Mm-hmm. Like no one was on them. So then from there, we got another stretch, and the next stretch, it's the same thing. He knows another highway over on the side. So he takes us to the next leg, which would normally take 2 hours, but it's taking people like a dozen hours to get there, or 8 or 10 hours to get there. That highway was empty, Reggie. No one was on it the whole way. We didn't even see another car. We drove the speed limit all the way to what's called Jasper, Texas. We get in Jasper, he has to go another direction. So I lose my buddy, I lose my leader, you know what I mean? He's my fearless leader. So now I got to get into, and I don't know where to go from here, so now I got to get in line. So what would be the next 45 minutes takes 4 hours. And all the lanes are packed with people, okay? Now they're on the shoulders. So what's a 2-lane highway is a 4-lane because everybody's using the shoulders too. Now they're getting off into the grass. They finally get enough of that. They start crossing the median. Now they're driving the wrong way on the other side of the highway to go north. It's like mass chaos. And what would have taken another 20 minutes took us 2 more hours just to get to this next side road. We get to where the dam is up there in Jasper, if you're familiar with the area. And I'm just thinking, I don't know, if I turn right here, I have no idea where I'm going to have GPS and all that back then, right? We didn't have our phones. It should have been nice. None of that was available. So, but I'm thinking, if I turn right, I don't know where it goes, but I'm thinking it can't be worse than this, right? So, but I radioed the crew. We got a small convoy. I'm like, hey, why don't we hang right here on 288 or 55, whatever it is, and just, surely there's a side road that goes north from here. And everybody's scared like I am. And finally I decided, you know what, I'm just going. Reggie, we go, and we drove the speed limit to Dallas. Like, we're there in like 4 hours instead of 30. And everybody's dying on this one route. Not dying. Some of them I think actually did, but running out of fuel, running out of food, running out of everything, but they won't leave. But this is what I kept thinking. Like, there's nothing I could have told those people, I don't think, to get them to follow me off that route. Even though, and I wasn't sure I was going the right way, but if I could have put a helicopter in the air, and I could have showed them, look at what's going on right here, and look at this empty highway right here, everybody would have just left. Like, they would have followed out of there like madness. They'd have emptied that highway, and then we'd have needed another road. But so I guess what trying to say is that's what I feel like about love, is and about the book The Right Fight, and everything I'm trying to say. It's like everybody's on the same road, like everybody's saying the same thing, and not only does it not work, it's way worse than that. It leads to and ensures massive suffering. Like it leads to the wrecking of your own life and the hurting of the people around you. And so I'm trying to tell people, because they have so programmed what love is in their head, that it's something completely different. And if they have the courage, it's not easy at first, but if they have the courage to divert far enough to take a peek. And so I'm hoping in the podcast that what we can get people to do is to reconsider, because it's so counterintuitive. It's like, I know every fiber of your being is saying something else, because that's the way it was for me. But if you'll come take a closer look, it's going to be like looking from that helicopter. It's going to make perfect sense. You're going to know it's the truth. And if you can follow the truth a little at a time, it's going to set you free.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say love looks like on the ground, like stuck? What do we believe about love right now that you're trying to help us to get out of?
So we believe love's a feeling. That's the first thing. Okay? And then we believe that we should love ourselves, which is the opposite of love. So love is selfless. So the very simplest definition I could give you for love. And I've asked so many people, what is love? And everybody talks about self-love, but if you ask them to define love, I can't find anybody that can really even attempt to define love. And a lot of major psychologists will tell you it's indefinable, right? That you can't even define it. So if you can't define it, how are you going to live it, right? And so I would say the simplest definition of love is doing what is truly best for someone else without regard for yourself. Now, people will say, that's not a feeling, right? I mean, it's obvious it's not a feeling, it's a decision. But what about the feeling of love? What's that got to do with that? And I understand that, right? Because I understand that I don't choose what I feel. Right? That's the hard part. That's what the super counterintuitive part. Like, I don't choose the feeling of love that I have. I really don't. I have no control over that. But I used to think that feeling was for no reason at all. And what I didn't realize was that feeling was for a reason. So either someone was actually loving me, or I was choosing to love someone else in the choosing process. Just to give you an example, we're in a room right now. So if somebody comes up the stairs right now with a gun and they say, one of you's coming with me, so it's me or it's you, Reggie, right? What I'm saying is that if I love me, I say take you. That's what I'm telling you self-love is. So self-love is doing what's best for someone else without regard for yourself. Self-love is doing what is best for me without regard for you. It's the opposite, right? But here's what happens. If I say, take Reggie, I love me. If I say, take me, I love Reggie. But here's where we're missing it, and this is the light that had to come on from me. If I love you, not feeling of love, choose to love you, so I say, take me, not Reggie, when this is over, even if you didn't know me, you're going to feel love. I loved, you're going to feel it. So if you say, take me, not Kenny, I'm like, I don't know who that guy was, man, but all I can tell you is I love the guy. Like, I want to love him, but that's what comes out of my mouth. So the feeling of love is the fruit of love. And then loving is the choosing. And so in the book, I say it's the right fight. I always fought for the fruit of love, the feeling of love. So if I fight for the feeling of love, that means I'm fighting for you to love me. And so when the guy comes in the room and I say, take Reggie because Reggie loves me, well, I'm not loving Reggie anymore, right? It's your responsibility to love, not mine. It's not my responsibility to make sure you love me. My responsibility is to love. Let me give you another example. So the world says that unless you love yourself, you can't love anyone else. That's the highway. That's where that's the evacuation route. Everyone is on that route. And what I'm saying is, if you love yourself, you can't love anyone else. And I know that sounds crazy, but just listen to me for a second, okay? And I'm trying to get you off the highway where everybody is and they're running out of fuel and everything's not going to last onto a wide open highway, right? So the best example or argument I ever heard for self-love was by a pastor, actually. And what he was saying was, and he made a good point, and I think he believed it, but I just think you need to dig a little bit deeper because it made sense to me when he first said, but this is the example he gave. He said, you're on a jet, and the oxygen leaves the plane, and the mask dropped down. What do you have to do? And he says, everybody knows you put your mask on first so that then you can help other people put their mask on. If you don't put your mask on first, you can't help the other people put your mask on, right? So if you don't love yourself, how are you going to love the person next to you? But here's my challenge. What I'm saying to you is love is not what you do. It's why you do it. And it's not putting your mask on first does not tell me who you love. And it doesn't reveal who you love. Why you put your mask on first reveals who you love. If you really put your mask on first so that you can help the people around you put their mask on, I would say that is not self-love. That is love. That wasn't for you, it was for them. If you put your mask on first to make sure you get a mask, under the guise of helping the other people around you get a mask, that's self-love. And so what I'm saying is, what I'm asking is, if you want to know who you love, you need to ask yourself, if only one mask falls down between you and the person sitting next to you, who's going to get it? Are you going to hurry up and put it on? If so, you love yourself. Or are you going to help them put it on? If you do, you love them. And so that's what I'm saying. In life, in most of my life, man, if the mask started coming down, I'd pull it out of the ceiling. I wasn't even going to wait for it to fall down. Like, I'm a fighter, and I'm a step ahead of everybody all the time. And I'm making sure I'm getting mine. And making sure I was getting mine, pulling it out of the ceiling, everything, that was all great in the moment. But it was slowly eating my lunch over time. And it was wrecking my life and wrecking my relationships and wrecking my athletics and wrecking my business. And even when I was successful, there was no value in it because it was all selfish. And so what I started realizing was that I had to lay my life down, like, completely. Like, even if I don't get a mask, I would rather give you the mask and not live than live with the consequences I know when I took your mask. You know? So
So your definition of love is doing what is best for others. How'd you say that?
without regard for yourself.
Doing what is best for others without regard for yourself.
Yeah, and it's why you do things that reveal who you love, why you put the mask on. Okay, so it crosses right over to self-care. People say self-care is self-love. Well, no, I would say no, it's not. There's nothing inherently self-loving or loving about self-care. That's an action. Why you care for yourself reveals who you love. And Jesus pulled away for 40 days, right? Pulled away from everybody. Why did he do it? Everything he did was for us. Right? I mean, everything he did. So caring for yourself, feeding yourself, taking care of yourself, none of that's inherently self-love. Getting yourself up every morning, none of that's inherently why you do it. The whole problem with the self-love movement is me first. Me first, that's self-love 100%. It's not caring what other people think. Right?
So you're saying it's the motive? You're saying why is the motive for the what?
That's right. And if your motive's broken, look, people tend to see us outside in, but God sees us inside out. And the problem is, if people hang around long enough, they get to see the inside. Yeah. And that's why so many relationships, they start out wonderful. It's all outside in. We're all doing these things that look beautiful, but we're all doing them for the wrong reasons. And so we always it all starts great, but then at 2 years it all falls apart, or a year it all falls apart. Well, it's not like, and we think everybody changed. No, they didn't. Nobody changed. They were changed the last 2 years. You're just getting to see what's on the inside finally. We can only hide this so long. We can only make our own fruit, dress this all up pretty for so long before the inside gets revealed. And that's what was happening in my own life. I could dress it all up. I could be successful. I could do all these good things. But I was scared to death the whole time because I knew it was all my work. And I couldn't afford for somebody to see on the inside. But when you get the pureness right inside, which is God, it's Jesus, right? It all starts and ends with him. And then you get your motives right. Then when people see past the outer layer to the inside, and they will.
So how would you encourage us to find out what our motive is? Would you think that the majority of people are not self-aware?
No.
Or you think they are?
They're hyper self-aware. I don't agree with that no one's self-aware.
So you think people know their motive for doing things?
Yeah, no doubt. Right? Now, I mean, sometimes we innocently do the wrong things. I'm not suggesting that's not true. It's like sometimes we think we're doing the right thing for the right reason, and we haven't. So maybe to some degree I would agree with that. That there is some lack of self-awareness. In other words, am I really examining why I'm doing this? Am I asking myself why I'm doing it? But I don't think there's anyone, if they ask why, doesn't know the answer immediately, right? Or not soon thereafter. Like if you sit down by yourself and you're like, why am I doing this? What is my real motive? Then that it's not hard to flesh out.
Yeah, my question was just simply how many people are asking themselves, why am I doing this? Because the other day, my daughter and I were at Starbucks and we were sitting outside. It was close to closing time, and a delivery guy came to deliver the milk, and he delivered case after case. Well, he was doing it on a dolly, but had to open the door by himself. So I got up to open the door, but then after I sat down, I just asked myself, why did I open the door? Was I trying to do this to set an example for my daughter? Was I doing it just for the best interest? This guy just needed help. And I'm wondering how many times do we actually quiz ourselves to say, why am I in pursuit of this type thing? But if you're not self-aware, I don't see how you could ever reveal what your motive is. How would you encourage us to find out the why?
Yeah, but I mean that's a challenging question you just asked, right? In other words, so there's two types of self-awareness. I think there is an awareness that we know why we're afraid, and we know why we're doing the things we're doing for approval, so in other words, I think we're aware that whenever all I'm doing is just pleasing you, that it's actually not best for you. It's best for me. Okay, so I think we're aware of that. Now there are, I would say, and I do the exact same thing you just mentioned there. I mean, I often do things, and then after I've done them, sit down and think, I wasn't even really fully conscious of why I did it. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm thinking about it, I need to get that straight. Mm-hmm. Not that I don't need to do it anymore. Yes. I just need to do it for the right reason going forward. Right. Because, I did it for the attention. I stopped and helped that lady with the flat tire because, made me a nice guy, right? And that's the wrong reason to do it. And so I guess, there's a self-awareness I think we all have, but no, maybe not. Maybe we do need to ask ourselves why a lot more,
Gets down to the core.
Right. But I think the beautiful thing is if we do ask why, we don't have a hard time figuring it out. You know what I mean? I mean, even a lot of people I've talked to that have come and just 20 years of doing Shields of Strength, everything. I'm not a counselor, but I end up talking to people all the time trying to help. I've never found anybody that has gone through a lot of terrible decisions and has come out, and if you ask them, did they really not know? I've never had anybody say, man, I just never had any idea. They all say, I knew all along. I either didn't have the courage to do the right thing, or I was too hurt, or, for whatever reason, they justified what they knew wasn't right. So I think if we ask why, we know.
Good deal. Well, that brings us to the close of episode 2. Look forward to continuing this conversation with episode 3. Thanks, Kenny, for your time and for the insight and provoking us to think a little bit deeper into the motive and the why behind why we do what we do.
Amen.
Thanks for listening to the Right Fight podcast. Make sure to check out Kenny's book, The Right Fight, for more on how to live a loving life. It's available on their website, shieldsofstrength.com, Audible, and all digital platforms. If you have any questions for the podcast, you can email support@shieldsofstrength.com and put podcast as the subject. And make sure to follow Kenny on Instagram and TikTok @JohnKennedyVaughn. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.